Do you want to know why your dog can't seem to stop jumping on people? Or why they just bark their heads off sometimes? I want to start off right now with some training advice that you can put into practice immediately. And then we're going to go into why dogs jump and bark. I'm going to show you how to implement something called behavior swapping and how adaptive learning applies here. By the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what to do. Click thumbs up, subscribe for everything dog training. First tip, have treats in your pocket. Stay with me. Having treats on hand allows you to train your dog throughout the day during those calmer moments. If you have trouble remembering this, just put a bag of treats right next to your toothbrush. Yeah, it's kind of weird, but you're going to remember to put treats in your pocket. And that's crucial because dogs, especially when they're overexcited, really struggle to listen unless they've got experience listening in less intense situations. A lot of treats are too crumbly, too greasy, or filled with fattening ingredients, or your dog just doesn't like them. If you really want to step up your treat game, Pupford has redefined what high-quality training treats for our dogs should be. These are real chicken. Nice and small, they're dry. That means they actually taste amazing, which is really important. And because they're freeze-dried, I can take a handful of them, put them in my pocket, and just know that they're there. They've got blueberry treats, banana treats. The problem is when I buy the banana or the blueberry treats, I end up eating them. Now you can get these at PetSmart. In theory, you could wait for this video to end, go to PetSmart, buy these treats, and have a super trained dog by the end of the day. So often, barking and jumping are two sides of the same coin. Both are ways that dogs often express their needs, and they go hand in hand. These behaviors aren't random. They're connected to our dog's emotions and how they interpret their surroundings. Those are such powerful clues. For example, a dog might bark excessively due to fear, anxiety, or excitement, or maybe because they're just bored. They might jump on you because they're eager to play or because they haven't seen you in so long, like 5 minutes in some cases. Or more simply, they've learned that it gets them the attention they crave. By tuning into our dog's emotions, we're able to get at the heart of their behavior. And that's how we're gonna make changes that stick. It's about solving a problem, not just hitting the mute button on their quirks. So we've got to tailor our training approach to really fit their emotions in those moments. What do you think are the emotional motivations behind your dog's jumping and barking behavior? Tell me below. Are they excited to see you, seeking attention, nervous, bored, or maybe even scared? Once you start to understand the motivations that are driving your dog's behavior, you're much more equipped to actually address it. One fundamental concept that's going to help you make progress on this is called behavior swapping. The idea behind behavior swapping is so simple, yet it's so powerful. Instead of just trying to stop an unwanted behavior by suppressing it or punishing it, which we know can be problematic long-term sometimes, instead we swap that behavior with something acceptable that works for our dogs and for us. Let's say your dog jumps on guests the second they enter your home. Instead of scolding them for jumping and telling them what not to do, it's much easier for our dogs to succeed and for us to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish if we replace it with telling them something to do. This is Veronica. I want to give you an idea of how I communicate with a dog when they're in that super excited, frantic state of mind, like when there's a knock at the front door. The ideal behavior that I would like my dog to perform when they hear a knock at the door is pay attention to me so that I can escort you over here to your bed, or you could potentially use a crate as well. For science's sake, let's see what happens when Bree knocks on the counter, catching Veronica off guard. My goal isn't to get her to stop barking. My goal is to improve communication when she's in a frantic state of mind. There's nothing inherently wrong with barking. It's just that we want to be able to have mutual communication with our dogs while they're barking. My objective for this lesson is to swap that barking behavior with something I like better. The goal here is to get her to associate that knocking sound with actually going and doing the task that I'd like her to do. It's a lofty goal for a single training session. We'll see how far we can get. Step one, let's make her bed the most amazing place to be. Toss some treats onto the bed. No skill required. I'm using really tiny treats because I'm trying to accomplish a little bit of duration here. These treats break up really nice. Right now, I'm happy to just let her kind of evolve towards the behavior that I'm looking for. My hope here is that she'll relax and lie down here at some point. There we go. The sit. I like that she was kind of trending towards the down. Yeah, right there. See that? And so here I'm going to pick up that rate of reinforcement, make it a little bit quicker, just to let her know that's really working, still working. I'm going to release her, and to guarantee that the release works, I'm going to toss the treat at the same time. Okay. Dogs are really likely to go after things in motion. She just automatically gestured. She put her feet on there as if to say that was working a moment ago. Yeah. Oh, look at this. And so she goes straight to the sit that time, into the down, because she's like, that was working really well. I'm choosing to keep the treats coming when she's in that mid position and then increase it when she accomplishes that physical position of down. But really, we're hoping that she'll be in a calm state of mind at some point. But right now, we're just teaching her the mechanics. So my next step is to teach her that she can lie on this while I walk around. I don't think I need to prompt her. I think she's probably going to ask, so I'd rather have her ask. That way I know I've got a way more willing participant, which is so advantageous when you're training a dog. Yes, I'll go ahead and say yes for the check-in. Oh, how interesting. Yes. Isn't that a tricky one, right? Do you reward that? She lied down, she got in the relaxed position, but she's not on the bed where I want her. I tend to look for the silver lining there. I'm gonna give her a chance to self-correct too. Yes. And you'll just remember every time I say yes, I try to follow it up with something that she really likes. The idea is that I can walk around, I can march, I can make all kinds of sudden movements, and she ought to be able to kind of hold that position. That's what I'm working towards. And she's, yes, maintaining calmness in a specific spot. That's great. The main thing that we're trying to accomplish here is teaching our dogs to pay attention to us when there's something exciting like a knocking sound going on. So we give them experience, we train them, we rehearse these things, and we try to exceed what it might be like even in real life. There's so much value in catching your dog succeeding, because now I feel much more confident that I can do this. Yes. Throughout all of this training, we're not getting any barking or jumping at all. In fact, we're getting an alternative behavior. You can see her make the connection between the knocking sound and going to the bed. I mean, we've worked on relax in the past. We just haven't worked on it in this specific context. Relax, yes. And that's that light bulb moment. You can see she's connecting that knocking sound with going to her bed. Yes. Didn't want to take any chances right there. Once you practice this for a bit and your dog's doing really well like Veronica's doing, you can step it up a little bit and have a friend knock on the front door while you run through a similar version of this exercise. Or add other real life distractions that make sense for your situation. If you really want to get progress here, do those surprise training sessions throughout the day. Randomly audit your dog or help them understand you when they're not expecting it. Now, if you're really struggling to get through to your dog because they're overly excited when guests arrive, it might be best to keep them in a separate room initially. Once your guests are settled and you can focus on your dog, then you can bring your dog out on leash to meet everyone. The reason for the leash is because during these transition periods where they go from being in a room to really excited to interact with guests, the leash allows you to prevent the jumping altogether by having reasonable control of your dog. You guys remember your dog's seeking system that we discussed in the last video, right? Dogs are genetically wired to explore and investigate everything. So with your guests present, consider giving your dog a toy that they value in that moment, or if that doesn't work, you might want to scatter some high-value treats in the general area, but maybe away from your guests, in order to keep them preoccupied for a moment. With every moment that they remain grounded, even if they're initially assisted by something like scattering a few treats on the floor, your dog is gaining practical experience in appropriate behavior in the presence of guests. The majority of dogs are going to naturally settle down after several minutes, and that's the time to really start working with them. In other words, when our dogs are super excited, it's best to let that pass and manage them, and then when they settle down, only then can we really get through to them. The beauty of behavior swapping is that it doesn't suppress your dog's excitement. It just channels it into something more appropriate. They're still rewarded for their behavior, it's just a different behavior. This is what's properly referred to as differential reinforcement of an incompatible behavior or other behavior. It sounds fancy, but it's just a simple way of saying that we're gonna replace an unwanted action from our dogs with something that we find more polite. What's so great about this is this approach can be applied to a number of unwanted behaviors from our dogs. For example, if your dog's chewing on furniture, you can swap out the chewing of the furniture with a really good bone that your dog might like. If your dog is the type of dog to run out of an open front door, you can swap that behavior out for a sit and stay while the door opens. Ultimately, when we're teaching our dogs how to stop pulling on leash, we have to swap the pulling behavior with polite behavior. Another key aspect of effective dog training is adaptive learning. That's the ability of our dogs to apply lessons that they've learned to new environments and scenarios. You see, while dogs are incredibly smart, they don't naturally generalize well. This means even if your dog has learned not to bark excessively in their own house, they may not intuitively understand that that rule applies at your friend's house when you bring them over there. That's why finding new ways to challenge your dog and practice in new environments is so important. Think about when you were learning to drive, you didn't just practice in one location. You practice in parking lots and quiet roads and then busier roads and maybe even highways. Each new environment presented different challenges. It's the same thing with our dogs. To help accelerate your dog's adaptive learning, you can try changing various variables in your training depending on your dog's skill level. The more skilled they are, the more variables you can play with. Dogs bark and they have to be able to bark, and I don't mind a bark or two from my dog. I mean, there's real bears out there, and if they see one, I want them to tell me. But I really want to make sure that I can get through to them, and practicing when they're surprised is what it takes. When you're training your dog not to jump, practice skills like sit and stay, settle, leave it, their recall, heel, look at me, lie down, and make sure you vary your training with different people, different times, different excitement levels. Most of all, be patient with yourself. I mean, you are learning a new skill too. Consider this too, you're helping your dog unlearn habits that might have been ingrained for months or even years in some cases. So remember, treats in the pocket. When your dog realizes that they could be rewarded or reinforced at any given time, that can boost their motivation to behave as you want them to, and it does it quickly. But this does not mean you will have to rely on treats forever. They're just an outstanding way to reinforce behaviors that you want to see more of. Pup for Treats are really great for that. You can get them nationwide at PetSmart. Was this video helpful? Click thumbs up, subscribe, share this video. Tell me what your experience has been like training things like this. I'd love to hear about your progress, any challenges that you're facing as well. And we're on Threads now. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook as well, and see you next time.